talking about SNL, the history, the mysteries, and all the hot impressions in between, breaking down all the numbers as well. In your favorite sketches with special guests, it's on the Saturday Night Network.
Yes, that is right. Welcome, everybody, on in to the Saturday Night Network for another episode of our Hot Take Show, coming to you live immediately following the Melissa McCarthy and Dijon episode of Saturday Night Live. My name is Jon Schneider from the SNN. So excited to be back with you on this first Saturday of December to talk about Melissa McCarthy's sixth time hosting SNL. We are, of course, here as a presentation of LateNighter.com. We have a great panel and a great group of people in the chat to talk about this episode. So first up, let's bring in the incredible Amanda Barkin. Amanda, how are you?
I am good, John. Thank you for having me. In the pre-show, John just suggested that I got a little bit taller so that we could all be aligned. So I'm feeling a little small in that sense, but otherwise, good. It's cold here in New York, which is appropriate because it really did feel like the beginning of December at Saturday Night Live, and I'm excited. I like when they do that, when they bring it, kind of extend the Christmas vibe beyond or before the Christmas episode. So happy to be here.
Yeah, it used to be a thing that we would really get more sketches towards the back half of the year. I mean, like really just like all the way to that last episode. And now definitely spread out throughout the entirety of December, a holiday themed night, and lots to talk about here. And joining us for the first time on the Saturday Night Network is Justin DeSilets, who is here. So happy to have you on the show, Justin. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, John. Really freaking happy to be here. Yeah, I'm just excited to talk about it. Excited to talk about the sketches, what I thought about some of the acting in some of them, and the hot take that I had told you when you originally were like, talking about being on the show. It is completely reversed course. So I have come up with a few other ones. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, we're excited to get your thoughts here tonight. Of course, like I said, it is your first time joining us, and you have a lot of background in sketch performing. So I'm excited to hear from you. Do you want to give just like the brief summary for the listeners about your background in sketch so that they know that they could trust your opinion here tonight?
I don't know if they can fully trust my opinion, but I have some experience. For those that don't know, I'm Justin DeSilets. I'm a part of the sketch group I Mostly Blame Myself. We're in New York. We've been around for about 4 years now. We really started posting on YouTube about 3 years ago. And in those 3 years, we are at 1 million subscribers. So we've been a few things that were pretty cool. We did our 1 million special from Williamsburg, Music Hall of Williamsburg this last July. And before that, I attended NYU for acting. So I have some acting stuff too. Yay.
Incredible, Justin. Well, excited to get your thoughts here tonight. But let's talk about Melissa McCarthy and Dijon's episode that we saw here on the show. And Amanda, I'm going to start with you. Give me a hot take or headline from this evening.
I'm going to give you both because I feel like we don't ever really do hot takes. Everyone usually has a headline. It's not a hot take. That's okay. Some takes are hotter than others. My hot take, and I recognizing this is a hot take, is that Melissa McCarthy, there are many places where Melissa McCarthy could have swapped in for Kate McKinnon in her tenure at the show. That's my hot take. And my headline, actually, I don't need a headline. I'm just standing on my hot take.
But you're saying she gave you Kate vibes tonight? Is that how you felt?
She gave me Kate vibes. A lot of her pieces were things that I think could have been Kate's, but then that got me thinking deeper about it. I think that a lot of the stuff that Kate did, Melissa could have also done, and a lot of the sketches that they wrote for her were things that were written by or for Kate McKinnon.
Okay, Justin, let's get any hot takes or headlines from you from what you saw here tonight.
All right, headline. I had no idea who the hell Dijon was before this, and now I want to know because I really enjoyed like the full band sound that he had going. And I would say the hot take. I was of the opinion before this, and I think maybe with the exception of the Sabrina Carpenter episode, that I felt like they've been having a hard time like ending sketches. I felt like there's not been a lot of subversion and actual finale to a sketch this season so far, and this episode did a really good job of reversing my opinion on that. A lot of the endings were solid, subversive, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think there were some really interesting endings tonight, and I actually wrote some notes about that as well, Justin. So I'm excited when we get to the specific sketches to talk about some of the ways that they ended sketches, which I think I think they really were strategic about some of that here tonight. So can't wait to get into that. I really felt like, similar to your point, Amanda, about, getting Kate vibes from Melissa. I mean, she's always so fantastic whenever she comes on the show. She might have the highest batting average of any host. Like, she really doesn't have any duds in any of the time she's hosted previous to this. She's so solid. In all 6 times, I feel like we've gotten pretty good to, if not great, episodes from her. But I thought what was particularly interesting about Melissa tonight is that we haven't seen her for so long. And I felt like, there's so many seasons we could have used her, but this may have been the perfect time to get her back at the show when the show is focusing more on sketch performers, ones that maybe have similar backgrounds to Melissa. And tonight, she really felt like part of an ensemble where, yes, she played her kooky characters that take over and become the center of attention for a lot of the sketches, but it did really feel like she fit in a way that maybe she wouldn't have the last few seasons. She may have stuck out more, and we would have been coming on here on a Saturday night being like, wow, Melissa McCarthy is amazing. She totally carried that episode. But what I think happened tonight is Melissa was really great, but so was everybody else. And I think just the vibes that are happening at the show, the way that they're using the cast, it really suits a host like Melissa really well. So I thought it was a perfect time to have her back here tonight. I don't know if it was the best episode of the season. I thought it was a very good episode. For me, I feel like they're continuing a streak of just really pumping out some great sketches week after week. So I'm so thrilled to get to talk through this one. Let's jump into our cold open that we saw here tonight, which was the press conference with the Secretary of Defense, which was very similar to what we saw in the cold open for the Bad Bunny episode all the way back in the premiere, where this time, because of everything that's happening with the Venezuelan attacks and the boat and all of that, we're going to get Colin Jost here reprising his Pete Hegseth. He's going to be speaking to reporters Bowen, Mikey, Ben, Ashley, Dismukes, and Tommy. Going to do the very broy Hegseth thing. We're eventually going to see Sarah as Matt Gaetz, and then James is going to come in as Trump at the end. Amanda, how do you feel about this cold open and how it compared to what we have seen previous with Colin Jost taking over this role?
This was maybe my favorite political cold open in recent memory. This was amazing. Colin is really, I don't know if it is the novelty of seeing Colin really embody a character and not the character of Colin on the show on Update, or if it's really his performance, but this really works for me. And it's kind of delightful to see him do that. What I think is really funny is that he's not even wearing a costume at all. I was trying to compare, I thought maybe they did something more to his hair to make him douchier for Hegseth, but then at Update his hair was the same. So I think that that's just his look all the way. It was really funny. I think it's so energizing. I don't know. I really liked it. I just think that Colin is fantastic, and I wish that we saw him in other things. I don't mean that in the way that I'd want to disturb the structure, or that I think a lot of things have to shift to see it, but it's really interesting. And I feel he carried this entire cold open. I feel usually his parts are a little bit shorter and a little bit more repetitive, but he had so many funny lines. I wrote down he had a Dane Cook reference. Whatever he said when Andrew Dismukes said he has a wife, and Colin was well, call me. Tell her to call me if she wants to feel something for once. And he laughed as he said it. That got me to laugh out loud, which I feel the cold open rarely, if ever, does. And I liked the whole squad in the media gallery. It was really, really good, which I don't think I've ever had this high praise for a political cold open. So there you go.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that what was cool about this one versus the one we got in the premiere is the premiere sort of opens up with Colin as Hegseth, and then we get very heavy into Trump. And I think that this one had a much better balance to what we have seen previous. We've seen so much of James as Trump this season that for me, it felt better to have Colin take the majority of this cold open and lead it that way. Like the whole James's Trump thing was really only the last, call it 20% of this cold open. And I think that was really great for what we saw here tonight. I agree with you. There was a lot of great lines. I thought that the writing was really solid. You got questions for me? Well, just pretend I'm a random fishing boat and fire away, or calling it Operation Kill Everybody. And, I do believe that they were also very strategic in saying, okay, like we're going to have Ashley and we're going to have Andrew not just be reporters, but we're going to have them directly respond and build on that comedy with Colin. You mentioned that line from Andrew. I think the whole thing with Ashley of like, oh, get a husband, and she yells, I'm trying, very reminiscent of that comic book sketch that we saw with Andrew from a few weeks ago. I thought that this was a really solid cold open. It felt a little inevitable. I've been writing this article for Late Nighter every week about the 5 storylines to watch. I felt like this was probably where they were going to go this week, so I'm glad I nailed that one. But I thought that they just totally impressed me with the way that they wrote this. So I loved every minute of that. Justin, I know you didn't get a chance to get to this cold open and you caught the show right into the monologue, but just generally your thoughts on, how they've been doing the cold opens this season with James as Trump, and what we may have seen here tonight.
I adore James's Trump. I adore James's Trump so much. That is not a hot take. That is the coldest take in the whole goddamn world. But as the Nakusi became a thing and they sort of modified the makeup to actually do it even better, and if there's anyone that I love on the whole show right now, it's James. I think his impressions, I think his acting, I think everything's amazing. So I'll just go on forever if you let me about him.
Yeah, I definitely would. I think it was very impressive to get to see how he's developed that impression over the last couple of years. I thought it was good that they just took their foot off the pedal with it a bit tonight. And part of that may be is that I did find out that during the Friday night rehearsal, where they typically do rehearse the cold open, that I believe James wasn't there last night. I'm not sure the reason why, but I think Andrew stepped in for James to do some of those parts. So perhaps they didn't lean heavily on him in the writing because of that. So just a quick anecdote there about how that cold open got developed, which are typically written the night before. Let's talk about the monologue, where Melissa McCarthy is going to come into this episode asking the band to set the mood. She's going to reveal that she's a musician and her instrument is her mouth horn. We'll get some snow dropped on her, and then eventually a piano duet with Marcello pushing a piano back and forth. Keenan coming out saying that, don't worry, you didn't ruin Christmas. It's sort of like a lot of ideas here that were jumbled together in this monologue. And it's ultimately going to end in a performance, a brief performance of Baby Please Come Home, where we're going to see Jane, Veronica, Ashley, Andrew, and Bowen all dancing with Melissa McCarthy on stage. Sort of like a mini version of Jimmy Fallon's famous monologue from 2011, where he's doing Baby Please Come Home and going all around the studio. So like fascinating to go back to that. Well, especially like when this isn't technically the Christmas episode. Like I can understand doing Christmas sketches, but this felt really like the monologue for a Christmas episode. Justin, how did you feel about this one?
You kind of touched on it a little bit. I felt like it was a shotgun of a bunch of different bits, just really highlighting Melissa McCarthy's physical comedy. Like it was just physical comedy and put her in the, for lack of a better word, the shit role where things keep going wrong for her, right? But in a bunch of different scenarios that weren't really as cohesive as some of the other opening monologues that we've seen recently. That was kind of my feeling on it. I wasn't the biggest fan.
Amanda, did you feel better about this monologue?
No, I don't feel bad about it, but I definitely think the pacing was kind of weird and it wasn't cogent at all. I thought Melissa was great and it was very sweet. And I really like, this is, I guess, a bit of an aside, but I really wonder how the groups, like the group that you just named, that usually it's like the end of a monologue, or they come together and they do like some kind of musical number. I want to know how that group gets formed, because sometimes it's very clear, or it's like the newbies plus, but I want to know how that group gets formed because it's always kind of interesting to me. But yeah, I thought that, I don't know. I think that I was expecting it to be a little bit better, to pack a little bit more of a punch, especially coming off the cold open, and what we expect from, Melissa McCarthy's last monologue was like one of my favorites ever, from her Mother's Day episode in 2017, which, by the way, followed a Trump cold open. So, it was Alec Baldwin, but still, yeah. So I think that I was just like expecting a little bit of a stronger showing, but I'm fine with it, and I'm fine with her performance.
Yeah, I just felt like they didn't know what they wanted to do with her. And like
Yeah.
in this case, you have somebody there who could basically do anything. And there was just like small little funny moments because she's so funny. And she's so great at physical comedy. So it made sense to do the whole bit with the piano back and forth. But it really didn't feel like one monologue tonight. It felt like 4 mini monologues, and that's like a dangerous thing to do with with a performer to set them up for the show. Saying all of that, I do think that that wasn't indicative of the rest of the night. So yeah, not my favorite monologue for sure. Let's jump into the first sketch post monologue, which was our village market, where we're going to see Jeremy, who's playing Jonathan, giving out free samples. So, you go to Costco or something like that. There's somebody next to the aisle giving out those samples, and you're excited to go grab one. Veronica and Ben are there as a couple. They're going to try some goat cheese from Maine, the Rocky Lake Baguette. And then we're going to see Jeremy.
Raclette.
Whatever.
It's French, isn't it?
Aren't you a Quebecan? Cabution?
Before the show, I said, oh yeah, I could pronounce Justin's last name. I'm from Quebec, but no, already messed that up too. But we have Jeremy gets to talk to Melissa, and this is the crux of the sketch where he's going to try to give her a sample. And this takes a turn because there's some real psychological trauma that is built up in this character played by Melissa, because nobody's ever done this for her. And they just get closer. Eventually, we're going to see Tommy try and get a sample. Melissa's going to cut in with the shopping carts. We're going to see her try and give her foster mother's ring to Jeremy. Ashley will try and get in with the baby, gets pushed away. And then Mikey, the coworker, comes over and says, you have 6 dogs outside. She says, let them go, as this romantic scene develops between her and Jeremy. So, Amanda, how did you feel about our village market sketch?
I loved this sketch. And I felt like as I was watching it, like, I love this, but I don't know if it's for everybody because it's a little bit slower. You have to be really like entertained by the premise immediately, because you kind of see where it's going. I mean, I think that the writing was good, and she's really good. Like she's just so good. Like, I really think you can't mess up a Melissa McCarthy episode too much, no matter what. Not that I think that they did, but I just think she's so good. And this was like a real showcase for her. I was really like fascinated by the set. I couldn't figure out what was like real and what was like a backdrop. And I was really happy that when they zoomed out, you could tell, because I was like, are they in a grocery store? What the fuck is happening? But it was really funny. I thought Ashley was really funny. She continues to like crush it every second that she gets in it. I thought that, I mean, Justin, we'll hear what you say, but I thought that it was like a subversive ending, although not really subversive. Like, they subverted the premise, but not in a way that they didn't subvert my expectations. But I'm so glad that they did it, because it tied it back around.
They tied it in a bow, but I saw the bow coming. I'm probably a little biased about this sketch, actually, because I'm a huge Dropout fan, and I just want Jeremy to be used in everything. And I think he's been underutilized this season pretty heavily, just in my opinion. I really like him, and I like him when he plays a straight man, which is what this was. I did see it coming from the beginning, though, so it didn't subvert my expectations. It was different than the character he was playing a little bit at the beginning, but, kind of exactly what you said, Amanda.
Yeah, but I do think that there was, even if you could see this coming, I was fine with it, because I think that the characters that they were playing here were just so funny in themselves that even if you could just see the end of the story before you get there, it's fine. And I do think that there was, so a couple things here. Number one, Amanda, you mentioned the set. I think that the set was really cool, even though it was like backdropped. I felt like this is, I don't know if it's just me, but like I felt like the inside of a grocery store, the inside of like this sort of like mart that we get is not a typical set that's very common on Saturday Night Live. I feel it's like the type of setting that everybody goes to, but they don't usually go there. We're in restaurants and bars all the time, but going to a grocery store, this is something that is more rare. So I thought that was fun. I also felt like Jeremy here in particular was so good with Melissa. Like, you think about this, right? You Justin, you mentioned his experience on Dropout. Melissa is hosting for her 6th time at the show. She's one of the most famous sketch comedians there is. She does a fantastic job every time. This person is in his 7th episode as a cast member, and he has to go toe to toe with her and anchor the sketch. And I thought that he crushed it. I thought he was so good throughout the entire time. And if I'm going to go back to a particular moment that I recommend to everybody to go back, is like, yes, the ending where they kiss is good, but the moment where he takes a pause and starts thinking about if he actually wants to go pursue her was something you see for more seasoned performers at the show. And it does remind me a little bit of what we were saying about Ashley last season, where we were watching her before she blew up, and we were like, hey, there's little moments here that show that this person could end up being great on the show. And I think we're seeing potential from Jeremy, who, you know, didn't come out the gates running, but he's building his resume week by week and getting more comfortable with this show. So Justin, I really thought Jeremy was fantastic in this.
I agree. He actually gave time to take the actual acting moments, which make it feel like a real thing, which lends itself to the situation. Yeah, that's what I've liked in all of his Dropout stuff and some of his improv stuff that I've seen from LA as well. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and did you like this sketch overall, Justin?
Overall, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. Melissa McCarthy plays needy, desperate, something wrong with her so well. I mean, we'll talk about it in the next sketch too. I like the next one more in her portrayal of that as a little different character, obviously. But I still really liked her in this.
Yeah, I thought she was really solid. It's a character that we tend to see a little bit pretty often from her, with just like this sort of insecure person, and they're trying to figure out how to live. But I thought that this was a really solid and very funny. I can't wait to rewatch this one. So let's head over to our first pre-tape of the night. This is a helping hand where we see a young boy. This is an extra who did a fantastic job here playing off of Melissa, who lives across the street from her, sees her shoveling her walkway. She's playing this older woman who doesn't have the ability to shove the walkway so well. So he goes over to help. She's extremely pleased. So she's going to see that he was just, gets his snowman destroyed by Marcelo. So she's going to tie him up and leave a bunch of snowballs there for the young boy to attack him. And this will start the relationship between the neighbors across the street as the boy, gets snowballs thrown at him by some other kids. Eventually, he's going to be delivered a gun. We're going to see Mikey as his dad. We will see some girls laugh at him when he tries to talk to one of them. She's going to invite Sarah and Chloe over to the young boy's house to make him feel special. We'll also see Keenan as a pimp there. And eventually we do find out that the woman's mom across the street has died 6 years ago and is sort of melted into the couch. Jeremy will play a cop. And as the final, beat on this is just, we need to go find her. We don't know where she is. She's hiding in a snowman on his lawn. And the young boy helps out the woman and says, she's, she ran away. Kindness, pass it on. Justin, how did you feel about our helping hand sketch?
Sorry. That felt like a subversive ending to me. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I felt like this was a really good ending to a sketch that I didn't genuinely see coming and sort of tied together from the beginning. That was maybe my favorite part of it, that I didn't know where it was going to go, and then it went to a place that I didn't expect.
Yeah. Was there anything particular in this sketch that really stood out to you?
Let's see here. I mean, I didn't expect her to call the girls over for the pimp to show up for the boy at all. Seeing them there, it was great. And then of course it goes to death, because that's the only escalation you can really think after you call a pimp for a 6, 7, 8-year-old boy.
Amanda, this reminded me a little bit of, do you remember the Kate McKinnon, Billie Eilish sketch where they're holding up the signs to each other from across?
Well, that's when I started to have that thought. Yeah, of course, this was very similar to this, and also kind of to the Ariana Grande, My Best Friend's House is like kind of what I thought it was giving. Like, they love to do this kind of thing, and I love this, so it's fine. I mean, obviously with Ariana, the reveal is at the end. This one, it kind of like builds towards it. Like, that she's kind of insane pretty quickly off the bat. Yeah, it reminded me so much of that Kate and Billie sketch. Like, even like the music and just like the panning back and forth and the Christmas vibes. It was obviously very similar, but not so similar where it bothers me. Like, I don't think they were just repackaging it. I just think it's like the beats were very similar, but I thought it was great. I also really liked the Chloe Sarah and Keenan part, because it was just fun to break it up. I think that it would have been a little bit monotonous maybe without them, and then where it went from there. And I agree, the part that subverted my expectations was that the little boy ended up covering for Melissa, like ended up being on her side and having her back. Not that she like killed her mom and left her there for a while. That I feel like did not shock me, but it shocked me that the boy went along with it. I also thought that kid was fantastic. That's what I wrote down. He was so good. He should be in Stranger Things because he's a better actor than half those kids. So
do we find it weird though that they like used a boy for this much stuff? Like typically when they do have an extra, it's not it's somebody that's like more background, but there's been many cases where we've had cast members play children in sketches. This almost felt like you could more buy into it because it is this random kid. It just felt a little bit like not SNL to me for them to do that.
Right, it was Billy playing opposite Kate not that she was playing a child, but she was playing like a kid, at her parents' house, inviting Kate over for Christmas. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'd be interested. I hope maybe we'll find out a little bit more about how that went this week. I don't know how they get. Yeah, I mean, this also, by the way, I feel like I should just add, the production was unbelievable. This is looks like a movie. Like, obviously not, it's very high concept. Like, I don't mean that it's like a movie and plot wise, but it's like the production at this point, I feel like we take it for granted sometimes because it's always like this. It always crushes it. But this literally could have been like a Hallmark level, years to make production. Unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely.
If I could, I really think the high production lends really well to the comedy of it, because if they're playing it straight for the reality of the scene, then the higher production, the more movie-like you can make it, then it actually makes that land better, because it feels like a real movie that you're watching that shouldn't have death and pips.
Right. 100%. All right, let's talk about the UPS sketch. That's the one we get next, where we're going to see just 3 performers in this one. We'll have Melissa playing Donna Fonda, the UPS worker who is called into the office by Mikey and Ashley. So Mikey's playing Ed and Ashley playing Carol. And they're there to talk to Melissa about a complaint from a customer, where they're going to show footage from a Ring camera as she is tripping and decides to throw packages at the door. This will escalate into her doing the people's elbow as she comes back. She's going to wipe the cashmere that the person bought between her legs. And then she's going to be throwing garbage and ruining plants and putting a live bat in the house. All of this is taking place on camera that they're watching on the Ring camera in the office, while she is trying to get out of being in trouble. She's saying, yeah, I apologize. And she tries to leave. She's going to pretend to faint. All of this as she's going to eventually eat a notarized statement. And then we're going to get this really interesting button on the sketch, which we'll talk about here in a moment, which is saying, you don't belong here, UPS. Well, where do I belong? Actually, the United States Postal Service, now hiring for the holidays. Justin, what did you think of our UPS sketch? This
was my favorite sketch of the night, by far. I think there were a couple of moments where she played it so straight, and like, I don't know if she held the piece of paper in her mouth longer than they had rehearsed to try to break Mikey Day, but it really felt like she was doing that a couple of times. The fainting, her physical comedy in the cutaways were great. Of course, she's Melissa McCarthy, but just her fainting and the stuff she was doing with her feet and putting her arm around the corner to like try to hold herself up. The ability to do very Banana Man-y physical comedy while being very emotionally straight is awesome. And this scene was just that. Also, I didn't expect it to do the Ring camera going from day to night in that one specific cutaway, and that made me laugh too.
Yeah, they had this whole thing where she was like peeing for hours, and they're just going to like fast forward this, which was really great.
They said 45 minutes, and then it went from day to night, so it was way the hell longer.
Way longer. I do think so what was cool here is like, again, you get Mikey and Ashley groundlings alongside Melissa, so just that sort of like energy of these three people, it really did feel like a sketch that could have I guess the ring camera is more modern technology, but it felt like this could have taken place like on that theater troupe stage and brought to life in the show. I think Melissa was so good in this one. This may have been my favorite performance from her of the night, as she is just pretending to faint at some point and just like trying to leave the scene, which I thought was so great. And, Justin, you're new here, so you may not know this about me, but one of my biggest complaints about Saturday Night Live is that they consistently end sketches with buttons as an escape hatch to just get out of something that they don't know how to end. And I will say, I people know I hate the button. This was the best version of a button for me, where you're going to then, pivot the sketch to something that actually makes sense. So Amanda, I know you know how I feel about this, but that was the way to go.
I agree, and it's funny because I was about to be like, we hate buttons, but I don't know if that's just because we have like a hive mind and we just adopt John's strongest takes. We disagree about a lot of things. We meaning the whole podcast, not just you and I. But that one, I feel like the whole SNL network has adopted that take. But I agree. This was the reason that it worked is because it doesn't do the things that, it doesn't suffer for the same infirmities that the ones that we dislike do, because it was deserved. It made sense. It wasn't just like a get out free. They could have just ended it anyway. Like they could have done, it was just crafted. It was well written. It seems like it was made at, not that they knew all along, but they had this idea. They didn't just throw it in at the end to get out. It was really good. I mean, it's also cool to see Ashley in the straight man role also, because she's just, I mean, all of them actually. And I'm sure this is groundlings. I mean, this is all sketch performers. They're not just, they're acting. So even when they're not doing something crazy or kooky, their performance is so grounded and they're so excellent. So it's really
the grounding. Groundlings are grounded.
The groundlings are so grounded. That really wasn't on purpose, but their performance, I mean, I was thinking that about Jeremy when we were talking about the first sketch, that like even in the moments, like it's just their acting. I mean, it's like a page out of the Heidi Gardner playbook of like, make your face count at all times when it's on screen, and like they're actors, so they're just acting.
Yeah, definitely. And again, Ashley had a huge night here with 6 sketches, leads the entire cast for the evening. But yeah, I mean, this to me was, I did like Melissa in that sketch opposite of Jeremy, but I really feel like Jeremy was the star, as he was sort of like guiding the weirdo in the sketch. I felt here it was like the perfect amount of weirdo. It's did have sort of like vibes of that pizza business, trying to like get a loan for her pizza business sketch that we saw from Melissa back from a few episodes previous to this one, and just like her opposite the desk from somebody and playing off of them, and I felt like everybody worked off each other's energy super well in this UPS sketch, so I did really enjoy it. We're gonna get music from Dijon next, definitely an earlier musical guest than we typically get on Saturday Night Live, so I was like, oh, this is interesting just as far as the pacing of the show. It felt like a light first half compared to what we're used to, but Dijon is going to perform Higher and Another Baby. Amanda, what did you think of Dijon here tonight?
I thought it was good. I was not familiar with, as you know, when you told me, I was like, I don't know who this is, but then I had a bunch of friends see him in Williamsburg last weekend, so I was like, oh, interesting. Is my finger off the pulse? But it was good. It was, I mean, at first I was like this, it was really interesting the way that the stage was set up, but I think it was kind of set up similarly for his first and his second song. So that's like, bums me out. But it was good. I need to go back. I mean, I want to listen to his music. I'm going to go back and listen again, but he sounded good. I feel like this is the musical guest. This is the first time in a long time. This is not a brag, but I just have no context for it. No expectations, and I don't really have much to say coming out of it.
Yeah, Justin, I was a lot.
Maybe Justin does.
Yeah,
I'm just as in the dark with you. I thought my finger was on the pulse. It was not, or on a dead person's pulse, which is nothing.
I thought the second song, though, was a lot more fun than the first one. I really did enjoy what we got from Another Baby. It gave me it was like a little bit like Prince-y that we got from him in that second song. The first one was just like, okay, it was sort of like a little like Chance the Rapper soul style, but I felt like the second one gave me some Prince vibes, and I really did. I thought he was great here tonight. I'm like, it made me more interested in going to check out his work.
Yeah, I thought the presentation of the second one really felt like they were in, I mean, it was the set design too, but it felt like they were in a studio just sort of jamming together, and that we, in a weird, intimate way, got to like just watch them jam together. And I thought that was special. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, good stuff there from Dijon. Let's go to Weekend Update, where we're going to open up talking about the FIFA Peace Prize, a lot of other stories of the week, and we're going to get two correspondents on Update. First, we're going to welcome Ben Marshall for his first time at the Update desk in his career. Is going to be there to talk about tropical travel tips, as he is a redhead who just went on vacation. His name is Lance, and he comes out just with the worst tan you could possibly have. He got a kiss of color. He's hell red. He talks about the white lotion that he didn't bring, and he's cooking some TV dinner. So, Justin, how do you feel like Ben Marshall did in his debut at the Update desk?
I don't want to make any enemies. I was not the biggest fan of it. I did like that he said, "I love you" to the choir afterwards. That was very sweet. That was a sweet moment. But yeah, no, I don't know if I liked his character choices. I don't know what it was about it for me. He has abs. That was cool, I guess. The bikini bit was nice. Maybe it was that he wasn't reacting as much. Like, he had very clear, like, and now I'm supposed to react to being sunburnt moments, like 1 or 2 or 3 of them. But he wasn't like, we were talking about acting a moment ago. I don't think he was playing it the whole time at all. And so it didn't really land for me.
Yeah, did you like when Joe said body is tea?
Yes, I liked when Joe said body is tea. It caught me really off guard.
Yeah. Amanda, what do you think about Ben's bit tonight?
I think that I can reconcile liking it, and I completely agree with your position, Justin. I don't think he was really playing a character so much as he, like, it wasn't a character for me. It won't be a recurring character. It's not like a fully formed character, but I think he wasn't really doing much beyond being sunburned and being on Update. But that said, I was here for it. I was happy to see him at the desk. I loved the choir. I mean, it was extremely random, but how did they run? Again, a question I have just about like the logistics. Like, did they put out a flyer for like ginger children who sing in choirs or want to sing in a choir really late on a Saturday night? I don't know. I thought that maybe I was probably riding off the high of Ben making his Update appearance, but I thought that he was really strong in that he was like confident at the desk. He had good banter with Colin, and I want him to come back. I don't necessarily need to see him do this one again, but I liked it, and it didn't. This was like the kind of thing that was more fun than funny. There weren't a lot of laugh out loud moments for me, but I was very happy to see it. Again, I don't know if that's too inside baseball just because I want to see Ben succeed, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, it was a big night for the child extras here tonight at the show. But yeah, I thought that this was okay. Didn't necessarily like reach the highs that I was hoping. But I don't know that Ben is the type of performer that is meant for the Update desk. I think that like everybody at the show, deserves to have their place there. But I think like I haven't seen full weirdo from Ben in that form, I guess. Like, I think that the closest thing that we got to that was when he was sort of playing like the doula in the Amy Poehler episode. But again, it's very interesting to talk about Ben at the desk because we got used to seeing him for years in pre-tape form in those PDD sketches where they're so fast paced because that was their style that like it almost felt like this was in slow motion to me to see Ben, who was just there direct to camera, slowly talking about this. It just like, it felt a little bizarre. So I try and give him the grace of like, hey, you're no longer that guy. Now you're a cast member and we're trying to see you develop the way you should. But I just wanted this to get to another gear that I don't know that it fully got to. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious to see like if he comes back next time, if maybe we could just go like a little harder with something, like not just like, hey, here's the idea that kind of makes sense on paper, but like, what can we do here to just make this like more eccentric? Because I want to see if Ben has that gear in him. So that to me was interesting tonight. Someone who definitely always brings eccentricity to the desk is Sarah Sherman, who comes in as the drunk raccoon that famously broke into a liquor store this week, as she comes in with the bottle and jumps on the desk and falls over. We get some good back and forth between her and Colin there. So, Justin, how did you feel about Sarah at the desk?
When I said the UPS was my favorite sketch of the night, I made a mental note because Sarah Sherman as the raccoon was my favorite moment of the entire night. Oh my God. If you put her in an animal costume, she kicks ass. Like so much ass. Just the hand motions, the big eyes on the screen with the black and white. Oh my Lord. I'm trying to think of like very specific moments. Her humping the desk at the end was awesome. Her saying that you dream what you want to be, whore, just all of it. 10 out of 10. Big fan. I do need to admit a first time on the podcast faux pas. Did not realize how much power StreamYard takes, and I started this at 50% and I'm at 4%. So I'm gonna dip real quick, put my charger on. I'll be back.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Get those first episode blunders out of the way, Justin. But yes, go plug in. But Amanda, what did you think of Sarah's bit here?
I thought it was great. Like someone said in the chat, I also thought for a second it was Bowen, and then I was thinking, wow, they kind of do interchangeable characters, not the way that they play them. I think that they play them extremely differently, but they do both like lean like animal, or like they have this tendency to like be an animal, but then just like have there be a second side story, like with Bowen's, where he's like a hippo, but also chaperone. Like Sarah is usually like an animal, but then also like herself. And that I was just thinking that I feel like the problem with Ben is that he wasn't doing a character. He was just playing himself, having gotten sunburned. Sarah is playing herself too, but Sarah's like kind of a caricature of herself, or she can be when she leans into it, which she always does. And so I think it just like works. Like I think that the way that like Heidi and Ego would like kind of lose themselves in an update, like you could tell it was theirs, obviously, but it wasn't them. Sarah doesn't really do that in her update characters, but it works for whatever reason. I don't know why. I mean, I guess because she's just really funny and she's got a really strong personality and a really like fully formed, developed set of like mannerisms and like the way that she speaks evenly, like her beats are different, and it's just really fun to watch. And you can tell that Colin is happy to have her there, that his job is easier when she's at the desk, and like they just like work off each other, and she's just down to clown. And I feel like she just does like full send every time, which is really helpful. Like it doesn't always hit, and she's funny about trying things that don't work. Like the way that she handles that is funny. She's just like a real ball of energy, and Sarah is made for update and for sketches. So that's props to Sarah Sherman.
I honestly think this was the best thing she's done all season. And
I thought you were going to say ever.
Oh, no, please. Nothing. If I could go back to Sarah Squirm on Saturday Night Live, I would kill for that. But yeah, I mean, for me, like she did the concerned New Yorker who like didn't want to vote for Mamdani back in the Polar episode. She had the mechanical bull sketch that I thought was pretty solid. But like this to me, I felt like was my favorite thing from her this season. It sort of like allowed her to spread her wings a little bit more. I wonder with her upcoming special if there was sort of like that incentive from the show to give her this a bit. But I just felt like she really brought it. Like she really just like had the energy to jump up on the desk, like turn to the like different camera angles, the back and forth with Colin. It felt like they packed a lot in here, but she was like totally game for it. So yeah, it just sort of like makes me like miss like getting this from her on a weekly basis, because I feel like she does have it in her. And like that's my biggest gripe with her, who, you know, has really built like a solid place for herself at the show over the last couple seasons, but just like I am missing some personality that I know she has in her, because she has that range change. And when she brought it through the raccoon this week, I was very excited about that, Justin. So were you going to say something else about this?
I was going to say, well, talking about what you were saying, Amanda, how she's able to bring herself and still be eccentric. I don't have a Sarah Squirm poster on my wall behind me as I'm doing this podcast, so I'm less aware of her outside of SNL, I would say, aside from when she's done that there. But of anyone on the show right now, I believe her to be just going around being zany, being raccoon-like, not fully raccoon-like, but mostly raccoon-like in her personality. So I think she can tap into herself and play crazy fucking characters. Sort of what you were saying, John. I don't imagine Ben going around doing that.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a place for everybody here. I just, a lot of the conversation we were having this season and last is about what is Sarah's place at the show, and I do feel like she has this ability to bring the two to Saturday Night Live, and I thought this was really solid. Cut from the update desk was Kenan Thompson as Pepe Le Pew, who did have a small bit in the Sarah piece where actually in dress, he's going to come out at the end of Sarah's. So he's going to be the first correspondent. He's going to come out at the end of Sarah's piece on the desk and give a flower to her. At dress, Jost also had a sea lions joke that apparently really, really tanked, and he kept repeating the punchline, and they spent like a whole minute on it. So that was like a funny note from dress rehearsal that we did not get to see in the live show. Let's talk about the post-update sketches, where we're going to get the Truth or Dare sketch, where the women of SNL, Jane, Chloe, Melissa, Ashley, and Sarah, and Veronica are all there. Veronica's playing a kid in the sketch, sort of there for the beginning and then dip. And then we have the rest of the cast members who are there playing Truth or Dare for the first time. So all the truths are extremely benign here, but the dares, daring, because they're sort of reliving their sexual fantasies with each other as we get Ashley and Melissa who go to the bathroom and kiss. We get Sarah and Jane who go to the pantry and reveal themselves to each other. We're going to get Chloe and Ashley go to the coat room, and eventually Melissa and Sarah who go to the yard to choke each other. And then we'll end on, can I bring my husband next time we do this? And of course, no, we can't. But Amanda, what did you think of the women of SNL season 51 getting together for a game of Truth or Dare?
First, I thought they were like doing a hunting wives bit. I guess because they were Southern, right? They were doing Southern accents, which first I was like, are they doing hunting wives? And I was like, no. And then I was like, kind of, which was just like very interesting. I really liked it. I didn't. Sorry.
No, I called that. That was me. My bad.
Oh.
Yes, we're getting major alarms, but Amanda is in New York, so we can all understand. Please keep going.
I kind of wish that it escalated more. I don't mean that they needed to get, maybe I do mean that they needed to get more explicitly sexual, but I feel like I just like wanted a little bit more of a revelation at the end, like kind of like, why are they all wanting to kiss each other and why haven't they done it before if they want to all kiss each other? But then, okay, well, I need a little bit more context, I guess. Like, I just feel like it was like so high concept. We're like, I don't know where they were, what year this is, how they know each other. They're just like having dip that's half yogurt, half sour cream.
Mayonnaise.
Ew. I wanted them to have, like, I almost wish that they were like in costume. I don't know. I wanted a little bit more depth to it, but I liked it. It was funny. And Ashley was fantastic. I mean, they all were fantastic. There was one thing that Ashley said that was like really tight. I don't remember what it was now. But it was funny. And some of the truths were funny too. But yeah, I like it. I don't think it was fully formed. I don't know if they ran out of time or like they last minute swapped it in for something. It felt a little bit half baked, but I liked it. And I thought they were all really good. And I always like to see all the women in SNL in a sketch. And I also thought, I guess this was a pretty strong episode for the SNL women. So in this sketch, obviously no different, but yeah, interesting sketch, and I enjoyed it. I don't know that I was fully all the way there for me.
Well, I think what's interesting here is that, Justin, I think that this is the type of sketch that does really poorly if you get worse performers in it. I think that the performances extremely elevated what could have been, like, honestly, like, I think it could have been a disaster. But what they ended up having here was what I thought was a great sketch, because they were able to play it so well. I think that the accents actually helped here, because it sort of allowed, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Justin, as someone with sketch performance experience. I think that them doing the accents allowed them to get deeper into character, to allow them to play these roles better. Whereas if they were just using their normal voices, I don't know that they would have bought in as much as performers. Like, that was my take on it.
I think that the accent, so as far as time period, definitely now, because they talked about Spotify Wrapped and like how old you are on Spotify Wrapped. One of the characters was 220. I forget exactly who said that, but one of the characters was 220.
Ashley.
Ashley was 220. Hell yeah. The accent allowed them to say what I felt like this was like kind of a commentary on Southern women and repression, sexual repression. I thought that's clear. And when the men aren't around, they get to play truth or dare finally and actually experience things that they've wanted to experience. That was really understated. None of them were like playing it big for laughs. None of them were going like really hard into characters. They would just go off stage, kiss, and the other people would treat it like it was completely fine and normal while it was happening. And then, oh, this is like kind of interesting. Oh, I kind of like this a little bit. Accent definitely allowed them to get more into character, but I also think it allowed them to play it straighter. I think if they didn't have accents, they didn't have any of the sort of set dressing that they crafted when they weren't getting sexual with each other, that they would have had to be bigger to drive it home. And my favorite part about this sketch was that it wasn't big at all. It was very like monotone almost the entire time. And then all of a sudden, oh.
I also thought it was an interesting choice that, like, the way that they paced it, where like you have performers literally leaving the sketch and then you have to bring them back in and decide like when is the right time for that, how long do you have them go. So there's like a lot of like decision points in this sketch that make it really interesting to me, of okay, like which of these two, because you know typically it is a rather large group where you're going to have 5 people there and you're going to have them have to break off in pairs. So you have to like find the right moments of like which person goes with who. When do you have them leave the sketch? Who fills the void when they're gone? Like there's a lot of things here that just like really have to click together sketch by sketch. So to me, this is like the type of thing that's really good to do like game footage on, or like a SNL sketch breakdown on, where you're like, okay, like, does it make sense for this to happen here? But I thought that it escalated really beautifully. There was like a note that I got about the dress version of this sketch, which is that in the dress rehearsal, you actually see Sarah choke Melissa sexually. And that was cut in live. And I thought that was an interesting cut, because what we had here is like everything was left to our imagination versus what you see on screen in the dress rehearsal sort of allows you to see like these people actually be involved in the sexual acts, like very briefly. So yeah, I'm fascinated by the sketch. This is the one I'm most excited to rewatch between now and our next podcast.
I think the implication of it is way better than actually showing it. I think that keeps it as a fairly muted sketch that has these really funny moments. I also want to say when Chloe responded to being asked to, who was it that asked her to sit on her fingers?
Oh, yes, that was Ashley.
Ashley. The way Chloe responded to that compared to the other people had responded to the other ones, like, oh yeah, no, I might like that. And Chloe was just like, yes, like immediately. That was my big laugh out loud moment from this one. I thought she killed it.
Let's talk about Sunday supper. So for most of the night, we had Melissa taking charge as the weirdo character in a sketch. In this case, we allowed Andrew to have some time to play, where we're going to see 3 couples hanging out in a living room, I guess after they had dinner together. And we get Sarah and Bowen, Andrew and Melissa, and then Cam and Ashley, first Cam appearance of the night. And, you know, everyone's like, you know, kind of excited. Okay, this was like a nice evening. But Andrew thinks like, hey, we should do this every week, you know, and let's just have Sunday supper every week. And he is really perturbed when he finds out that the rest of the group sort of doesn't want to commit to this weekly supper together. And it escalates to the point where he becomes a child. He runs upstairs. He gets his dress up box. He's going to be upset as he throws it down the stairs. He's going to eventually leave the house. And, it's an interesting dynamic here where we're going to get like a full POV of Andrew as his friends cannot understand why he is freaking out over Sunday supper. Amanda, how did you feel about this one?
This was my favorite sketch of the night. You know immediately that this is an Andrew Dismukes thing. I think that like this kind of repetition and like, him fixating on like a word or a phrase and a concept, but like really just like repeating the same words. It's like Jumanji and like Joker, like just like, and like doing it just the kind of like Forte-esque, like just like finding the sweet spot of like where it's like ridiculous, but like still so funny that it keeps going. I don't know. Somebody in the chat said this was like Tim Robinson, and I completely agree. But in the way that like Andrew is like these characters of Andrews, I find even more endearing. Like Tim, I mean, I think it's hysterical, but I feel like Tim Robinson never endears me. Like I never really end up feeling bad for him. Whereas with Dismukes in these types of roles, either like where he's playing a cuck or like in this case where his friends just don't want to commit to hanging out every Sunday or Saturday, I end up feeling bad for him. He's just really good at it. And I also, this was like a big, like it was like there was a lot going on. There was 5 people to react. He was going upstairs. He was going outside. Was dousing himself in gasoline. So like it wasn't so simple, but I still feel like his acting in this was really good. And I don't want to say grounded again, because I feel like but it was like you really could see him like shift from like hopeful to disappointed again to like and like I feel like everyone kind of knows somebody who's like that a little bit, not quite to this extent, hopefully, but I don't know, it's a really specific joke that like if you don't think it's funny, you're not going to think this sketch is funny, but I do, so I did.
Justin, I'm so curious what you think of this one.
So I think couldn't see Tim Robinson in this sketch. I sort of get where the comment that he was Tim Robinson-esque comes from, because it's just repeating things in the absurdity of it, and the whole premise is like a little bit batshit insane, but if you just let someone play it really straight, it'll work. I think Dismukes endears people a little bit because he's the punching bag in a lot of the sketches. Like a lot of the sketches, shout out Domingo, he just like is on the brunt end of getting punched out. And maybe that's because he's got deep set eyes, and maybe it's because he plays everything really straight, and maybe it's because he seems a little bit somber of his soul. Whatever the hell it is, he does it great, and it lended itself really well to the sketch. I was happy to see Cam very briefly. That was nice. I was like, hi, I forgot about you. I didn't forget about him, but the whole rest of the show, man.
We'll definitely talk about it during the week. I think that he definitely needs a big night one of the next 2 weeks, or we'll see what happens there. But I mean, with Andrew, I struggled with this sketch a little bit because I think that it was a little bit off brand for him, and I don't know how to feel about it, because I think that he is at his best when he is so dug in to something. So like, I think that his obsession with Sunday supper is very Andrew, but the way that he reacted in playing this character, where he became like this very insecure child, is not Andrew at all to me. I think that Andrew is like the guy who is like so like just like outwardly, almost like the Beep Beep sketch, where he is going to go and he's going to say like, no, we are having Sunday supper. And I think like, even like you get that in the Jumanji sketch, like I felt like this was like sort of like this meeker version of him. And that felt weird to me, because I do feel like he's really at his best when he is just so confident in the ridiculousness that he is putting out there. So am I crazy, Amanda?
Well, I think that the character that he was playing was different. Like usually he is like completely just dug in and like, like that's it. He's just like going to double down. This character like wanted to be like that's what, like when Melissa was explaining, like has he like when he's done this before, like he wants to be wanted and accepted. So he's like switch it, like when he sees like an opening, he tries to like change the proposal. So I guess it's a different character. You just didn't feel bought into it. Maybe like you were like this is wrong because this is not how Dismukes, like, the character is, because usually he's so dug in. You got to watch it again.
I mean, like, that's what we do. But I'm saying, like, I am not arguing that this is what the character is, and I'm also totally an advocate for trying new things. I just think that, like, his best pitch is that version of this character. And my understanding, and I see Alice talking about this in the chat, which is that, like, the dress version had much more of him standing on principle about Sunday supper. And I think, like, I just really wanted to see that. I really wanted to see more, but maybe the fact that this was different worked for you, and that's why a lot of people, some people in chat don't agree with me, but that's okay. That's the debate here. Justin,
do you think it might have been more helpful if he would have paused more in his, like, walkout to try to be like, I'll leave unless there's, because I'm willing to do this, I don't have to run away. Like, if it's played more as a tactic to get people to do Sunday supper. I think it was played that way maybe for, like, a moment, but if it was, like, more hammered, do you think it would have been better for you?
I don't know if it was that. I think maybe, like, I would have liked one of the other 4 people in the group to get angry at him and then force, like, another layer out of the character. Like, I would have liked, almost like Bowen in the Pinwheel sketch that we talked about from a few weeks ago, where at one point he's just going to start yelling. Like, I do wish there was like a no, like, we are not doing Sunday supper. And then, like, that forces Andrew to then, like, go back at him. Like, that's what I feel like the things that I really love from a guy who is so good at that this was maybe missing a bit from me. So again, like, one of those things, like, we'll talk about definitely on Monday.
I think you just needed to hear him say Sunday supper a few more times.
Yeah.
Dug in. But also, I just want to add that I thought also it was really funny that when they were like, do you think he'll ever come back? And Melissa was like, I hope not. Like, that, I thought she was really good at that point. So give it another try.
Yeah, I will, for sure. I mean,
I know, I'm kidding.
I love Andrew. So for me, I wanted him to succeed, and this is not an indication that they shouldn't keep putting him out there. So let's talk about this, which is maybe the most fascinating sketch that we got here tonight. So in case you're not, like, too tapped into social media, I thought major storyline that happened between the last episode and this one is that there was a Cyber Monday music video that Jane Wickline and Veronica Slawikowska put out. And I was like watching this. No, I'm telling you, this is what happened. So on social media, they put this out, and, and I was like watching it. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting, because, like, let's be real. Like, Jane could use a little boost. Like, she could use somebody to work with on the show. And the fact that her and Veronica seemingly have gotten closer, I think, is a big leg up for her. So the fact that they put something out together on socials, I was like, all right, this might be a good thing for Jane Wickline. So, I mean, slow Wickline, is that going to be a thing? Because when you see these two together producing Cousin Planet on the show, it feels like the start of something, where we get to see Melissa welcoming her nieces home. Veronica and Jane are there, and they produce this, music video, which is like a very auto-tuned thing talking about their cousins and the mystery of where they go post-holiday. Amanda, how did you feel about this one?
This is a lot of context that I didn't have. My thought was that, wow, this is dope, because Jane and Veronica both got their come up on TikTok, making content, like short form or, internet content. I sound like an old man, but outside the show, and they both, had their own audience and platform. So I was like, wow, this is like the, melding of the two, like TikTok girlies, for lack of a better word. I didn't know that they did something, so now I need to go watch it. I thought this was hysterical, and sucks for people who, like, don't have, like, cousins that they see, because then you just, like, around the holidays, because then you just can't relate, and that's just a sad concept. But I just thought it was really funny, and these are the kinds of things, like, from Jane's brain, this kind of, like, observational humor that I love and that I want to see more of. And if you can put it into a song like this, all the better. I mean, it doesn't always work. Like the Tiny Shoe piece I didn't love from last year. I liked this way more, I think, because the song was just catchier, and, like, the aesthetics, like, yes, it was very auto-tuned, but it was, like, very, like, 90s, like, kind of like video gamey and like with their outfits, and I don't know, the way that it was shot. I thought it was really good. I definitely need to rewatch it because I feel like there are a lot of details in the video. Like it was pretty long, and Melissa was great in it. It was really interesting. I feel like I was just like, wow, we're getting like the Internet Girls are doing like a musical pre-tape together. This is crazy. So I really enjoyed it, but I need to go back and watch more specifics. Hopefully there are some nuggets in there. I'm sure there are, but let's see.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little bit like something Good Neighbor would do back in Kyle, where they would do like a lot of 90s video references. And I think the thing is, Jane might need Veronica to channel her thoughts. So like she is a very interesting, talented performer who still was like looking for a vehicle for her material on the show. Like she knows how to create very funny songs on TikTok and bring them to the update desk. But beyond like Tiny Baby Shoe, which is sort of like generic SNL music video, she like partnering with somebody who is so with funny internet trends and great at making digital content, I think really works well for her. So this partnership could be amazing for Jane in a time where I think she really needs it. So I was fascinated with this, Justin. How did you feel?
I first want to say that slow wick line sounds like a euphemism, and I want to move on from that immediately without thinking about it too much. I need to watch the context for the video. I need to actually see the video they put out on Cyber Monday, because this was actually kind of a low point of the episode for me. I found it more fun than I did funny. I don't think I laughed a single time or anything. I went, oh, that's interesting. I have cousins. Christmas with the cousins and all that stuff, and only seeing them in December and never summer was a good line. I think I smiled a few times, but I don't think there was a single laugh out loud moment for me. I like Jane a lot. I'm happy that she got a moment.
Well, what was interesting is that I feel like they covered a lot of bases here. Like I felt like this was really brilliant, because the fact that this was so like 90s coded, but it really felt like something for the TikTok audience is so hard to like ride that line. And I think they did that here. So I know that there's gonna be people who are gonna be like, oh, this wasn't for me, but like I think there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna love it.
So I only created my TikTok for the show that I'm in because they made me so they could tag me in the thing. So I am not the TikTok audience. So that's maybe why it didn't land for me as much.
I don't post TikToks, but I'm very much on TikTok, but I don't usually get served. I don't know. I'm maybe a little bit too old to be. Do you feel like I'm calling you old then because we're the same age? Is that
No, keep going.
I wasn't like that familiar with Veronica or Jane before they came on the show, and then I started getting like kind of back-fed it, I think, because they came within my like SNL algorithm. But I definitely think, I mean, even in the good nights you saw them hugging. Like I feel like they immediately, I noticed that they were like embracing. So clearly this was like a feat, and like maybe something bigger, like we're alluding to. Like either we're just reading into it or it is true, and this was like a pivotal moment for Jane, less so Veronica, who's I think done well. I mean, although she wasn't in the episode much tonight, but otherwise she's been doing really well, and she's only 7 episodes in. So interesting.
Yeah, I mean, tonight on the show, we're here to talk about the sketch. On Monday, we'll probably talk about the context of the sketch even more, but I definitely encourage you, if you're watching this, go back and watch that Cyber Monday sketch, and then we'll talk about this on Monday, which is that, it is a fascinating development to see a partnership brewing, them sort of put out a test run online of like, hey, this is our thing. And then they get it on the show. So I'm so curious to see where this goes next. Definitely something we'll keep watching throughout season 51. Let's talk about our final sketch of the night, which was our New York News 1 holiday collection sketch where we're going to see Tommy play a reporter who's there to visit Bowen and Melissa's residence, where they're playing Christopher and Guillaume, who put together a collection of items like a minion nativity and gingerbread apartment building. But it's really the performances of the two of them walking around, explaining what all the props are. Great stuff in the props department putting this one together. So, Amanda, what do you think of our New York News One sketch that we got to wrap the night?
It was good. It was like a 4-1. I thought it was good in that spot. This really drove home for me. Like, tell me that couldn't have been Kate McKinnon playing opposite Bowen Yang in that kind of couple. It was like such a Kate role to me. I thought Tommy was great. Bowen, it was good. I don't remember like a lot of lines from it. Yeah.
There was a great line in this one, which was the whole like what's it like being a gay couple in this town? They're like, gay?
Why do you
Town?
think I'm gay? I'm a woman.
Yeah.
The town part. Because where are they
Yes.
supposed to be?
They're in Yonkers.
Oh, they're in Yonkers.
Oh, yeah,
They're in
yeah.
Yonkers.
Yeah. They're like town. Yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah, that was really great. A great line there. And
Thank
like
you.
just some added context for this one is that the longer dress version of this one actually did also have Kenan Thompson in it playing Melissa's lover. So we get to actually see like the third that they want to have in this, where she's like, oh, she doesn't let me have a third. But so sort of rewritten between then and now. But yeah, I thought this was pretty solid, Justin. I thought that Bowen had like played a good character here where sort of like played it not too over the top, like very just like deliberately slow. It was an interesting placement for this sketch in the night where they, sort of at the end of the night, they tend to get a little bit more silly, and this felt like a little bit more straight. But I thought this was really fun, and Tommy was really good. So what did you think?
Tommy was really good. I thought that the character work that they both did was amazingly grounded and yet silly. I would actually still call this very silly, especially with all of the props and the minions. And Rudolph exploring his sexuality was actually, I think, my favorite prop. I would say, unlike what I had said earlier, where I felt like this episode did a good job of ending sketches, this felt like the worst ended sketch of the night for me. I think throwing in ribbed condom at the end to be like, and we're out, did not. I was like, that's so lazy. I thought all the stuff before was really good. I liked all of the work that they were doing. I'm kind of sad they got Kenan. I would have loved to see him.
Yeah, but I will just say, like, again, we can only judge what we see on screen and what ends up being there. But like, it does feel like one of those things that was like, this was a minute longer, and then they're just trying to like scramble of like, okay, we got to get this on air, and we're gonna rip out like 5 cue cards.
Yeah, if they would have just set up ribbed condom just a little bit more throughout.
A rib condom is not funny enough to carry it out. They need a better name. They've done it in the past, and there's nobody even reacting to it.
I feel like
down.
I think they undercut Tommy with the ribbed condom. Like, I don't think he needed to be ribbed condom. I don't know how many times it's I don't think he needed to be that. To like,
now it's actually kind of funny as they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like the ribbed condom effect is the like when
it's the way you're saying it. You should have said it.
Okay, sure. But like it's when you give somebody like this superfluous line that like doesn't need to be there just because you don't think that the character is funny enough, when in fact he's actually driving the sketch by carrying these two like sort of offbeat characters from piece to piece here. And like I didn't think that needed that.
You know what it kind of did? It kind of made him not the straight man in the very last second of the sketch. He was the straight man throughout the sketch. They were weird. All of a sudden at the end, he's like, my name's not weird. My mom named me this and I'm going to go with it. Like, not even admitting that it's ripped condom at all. Right?
Ripped would have been funnier. It's not, Bob Sefkin just said that. I agree. Ripped. I mean, condom wouldn't be a name, wouldn't be a last name. It's like, I don't know. It has to be funny when you combine them. Like, it's not his mom's name if his last name is Condom. And he was like, my mom named me that. And I'm like, well, she didn't name you Condom. She got that.
Very hot take there. That we should go with ripped instead of ripped. That would have changed things. But I get the point. Which is again.
or like no condom or something. I don't know. I just think
We
ribbed
don't
is
have
not
to
that
give
funny.
him a silly name. This sketch is not about him having a
Maybe
silly name.
ripped condom could have been a happy accident. Who's to say?
Right,
Right.
that's very true. Yeah,
Yeah, you were thinking something nefarious.
I just think that this sketch was about the characters that Bowen and Melissa were playing here, and just how like these are almost like there is like a reality to this sketch, and then we're completely like devolving that by bringing in something silly at the end there. So like again, it was interesting, but I don't know that that was necessary. But I really do like what Bowen was doing here, opposite of Melissa. I felt like they were really great scene partners in this one, as she was with everybody throughout the night. But like in particular, I think that Bowen, who definitely has taken a step back from driving a lot of this season, has had some really good episodes here where he just like steps in every now and then to do a sketch and crush it, and he did a fantastic job. All right, let's talk about what was cut here from the night. While I do so, I'm going to ask everybody in our chat to rate this episode out of 10, and then I'm going to head over to Amanda and Justin to get their ratings as well. So we talked about Keenan being cut from Update as Pepe Le Pew. We're also going to have several sketches that were cut from the night. We got 3 live sketches and 1 film. I'll start with the film because I told you about this before. It was the Martin Herlihy film. That one aired at Dress Again, Green Flags, so also cut from Miles Teller. That one, hopefully we'll see that sometime in the run, but did not make it into the show here tonight. We also have 3 other sketches. One was a war swing sketch where Melissa, Sarah, Bowen wear meta glasses to film a movie scene with Veronica and Marcelo. We get a high school audition sketch, sort of cut from the same cloth of the very famous Will Ferrell cast list sketch, except we actually get to see the auditions. This one featured Melissa, Veronica, Jeremy, Tommy, Bowen, Sarah, Chloe, Jane, Mikey, and Keenan. So a lot of the cast in this high school audition sketch that was cut. And then a crime scene sketch where inside a house with blood on the walls, it's saying "See you in hell." Melissa literally slides on blood through a wall when she enters the sketch. So I believe this was the most physical that we would have gotten to see from Melissa. So hopefully that one ends up online. Also features Sarah, Cam, Ashley, James, Bowen, and Dismukes there. Yeah. So Justin, first podcast with us. I thought you did a great job here tonight. Would love to know how you feel about this episode out of 10.
Oh, 7.4.
Okay, tell me why.
There were some things that I really liked. I felt like they couldn't end sketches throughout the season, except again for the Sabrina Carpenter episode, and but I felt like the majority of the sketches, they did a good job ending them for me, which I really, really liked. And there were a couple of really good laugh out loud moments for me as well. Like we talked about at the beginning, Jeremy did a great job, and there were in that first sketch as well. Yeah, I would not call it one of the greats or something that I think even in a year from now I'll remember, except for a couple of really good moments. But it was a damn solid episode. So 7.4.
Amanda, how do you feel about this one tonight?
I'm gonna give it a 7. I think that it was really pretty solid across the board. Even the sketches that I didn't like, I didn't find them to be like clunkers or anything, because I think that the performances were actually excellent across the board. I can't think of a single performance that didn't elevate the material, as we kind of touched on earlier. I thought Melissa McCarthy was amazing, and I'm happy that they're still trying new things. I think that at pretty much every episode we've gotten this season, which has been so fantastic and such a pleasure to watch and cover, every single episode has just like tried something new. So I feel like it's helpful even going into the next episode, because my hopes are high and I'm interested to see what's going to happen for a number of reasons. Also points because for Colin Jost being just like a beast in the cold open. And I feel like I'm just like glazing him, but I'm really not. Like, I really think I need to go back and watch. I think that performance was phenomenal. Like I don't think I said this earlier, but I thought that at point before he kind of like broke a little bit, not like that he broke, but broke character. I thought he was like giving like a Beck Bennett kind of performance for a second. So really interesting. So 7.
I think I'm with you with that rating. I think it was solid across the board. I'm definitely still waiting for a sketch from this season that I think is like going to be like one of the like all-time great sketches of like, hey, this is the sketch we're always going to remember from 51. There's been a lot of like very good sketches, and I think that the episodes have been consistently good. So I feel really great about this season as we've been continuing to go on. But I definitely am still waiting for like the sketch that I'm absolutely in love with from the season. But yeah, so it's fascinating to sort of like analyze this. But overall, I mean, getting Melissa McCarthy back at the show is a gift. I mean, it's the same with that I felt with John Hamm, with Jack Black earlier this year. It is pure fan service that they are giving us these all-time great hosts who, you know, a lot of whom you would expect like would maybe stop after they get into the Five Timers Club, and like would they ever want to come back? But seeing Melissa in that Marty Short episode last year, seeing what she could still do, I thought she came in and just, it was like a really just solid, enjoyable episode of Saturday Night Live. So I'm very excited to continue to break this down all week long when we will be back on Monday night for our roundtable to talk through Melissa McCarthy's career at the show and everything we saw from this episode. Of course, Mike Murray will be back on a Wednesday night for By the Numbers to break down all of the screen time and data from this episode. And then we will be back in 1 week's time to talk about Josh O'Connor and Lily Allen, who are going to be headlining next Saturday night's episode. We will be here for the Hot Take Show to break all of that down. We've also had some other fun things on our channel. In case you want to go back and do a quick primer on Melissa McCarthy, we have a mini version of our Everything You Need to Know About Saturday Night Live series now out about Melissa McCarthy. So going through her episodes and talking about some of the best sketches from there as she continues to add to her legacy. During the off weeks, we had a great feedback show. And then we also had a very fun show that I did last week that I'll say is a little polarizing, where I got together with Bill Kenny and we ranked the top 10 SNL rookie classes from SNL history. So I think in that, if you haven't watched it yet, Bill gave, in my opinion, his most craziest take I've ever heard in the history of his time here at the SNN. So go back and listen to that one. It was a lot of fun, and more great stuff coming up here as we round out 2025. Really appreciate Amanda and Justin for joining us. So Amanda, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, John. And Justin, this was so awesome. Thanks for joining us.
I actually had a lot of fun. Thank you both.
Actually, are you surprised? Or did you have more fun than you think you're?
I didn't know what to do. Yeah. I mean, after the interview, John, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be depressing as hell. No. I didn't know what to expect. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for having me.
Yes, definitely, Justin. And anything that you would like the listeners to check out?
Oh, please check out I Mostly Blame Myself on YouTube. I went viral for playing a singing sex offender a year and a half ago. It has like 61. Thank you. I think you checked it.
Of course.
Anyway, yeah, please check us out. Follow us on the socials. See if you like our sketch stuff, and shoot me a line if you do.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, Justin. Honestly, you sent me a few of your sketches. So funny. I really loved the sketch about the town. As a huge Will Forte sex offender fan, that really just like hit me right here. So,
I was showing my girlfriend The Falconer today, actually. So hell, it's my favorite of him. Sorry.
Yes. So appreciate Justin DeSilets, right? Got it right? Yes. All right. Did it for joining us here on the podcast for the first time. Also, on Monday on the Roundtable, very excited. We're scheduled to have Alex Rabinowitz join us on the Roundtable on Monday. If you ever follow the account Pop Culture Brain, has some really interesting takes on Saturday Night Live. So he'll be joining us on the Roundtable on Monday. So I wanted to mention that as well. But yeah, seriously, appreciate the chat for being here. I want to thank Late Nighter for being the presenting partner for our show, and everyone for giving their takes on Melissa McCarthy and Dijon's episode of Saturday Night Live. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify to never miss anything we have going on here at the SNN, and follow us on all social platforms at the SNL Network to check out all of our Melissa McCarthy content and what we have coming up this week about Josh O'Connor. So on behalf of everyone here at the Saturday Night Network, my name is Jon Schneider, and we will see you next time, everybody.